Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of wars, recorder of videos, and a tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of Bye a weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you are playing characters Gottwald, Max Sabra, or Twirl, this is not the right stream for you, but for the rest of you, welcome. Of course, there will be lots of spoilers. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20. For streaming, I use OBS Studio. We are getting to the end of the Pirates Skyhold quest arc. In fact, I am very much looking to close this quest arc this week because we're going to be looking at taking next week off of doing D&D. I know, but blame Chris. He's got vacation coming up, and he's taking a full 2 weeks off, so I think we need to take at least one of those. And then we were like, hey, we could go on a little vacation there because there's some spring break. Anyway, so I'm kind of soft announcing it right now that there's going to be no D&D session on the 15th. I'll still do a crafting on the 11th, but probably not one on the 14th. But anyway, that also means we want to really wrap this up, which I think we're in a good position to do so, right? Because we made it through the entire Skyhold Earth Moat map on the surface, and we ended things exactly where I wanted to end them, which was the party defeating the undead pirate. Well, really, when we talked about this during the chat, I expected it to be more of like they were in a fight for their lives, and then the undead would stand down with the Black Dragon's command. Instead, they were like absolutely kicking my ass left and right, taking out a Minotaur skeleton, the 20 skeletons, even the Revenant. I was like, my goodness sakes, what a shellacking. That was crazy. Anyway, we talked about that during the chat, but I did not expect it. So it ended up being a little more anticlimactic when I finally stopped the fight, because really they could have just gone another like round and finished everything off. In any case, they will be meeting with the Black Dragon at the beginning of this week's session, and then we can continue on with the kind of, not even an epilogue, but really the true finale, which is going to be confronting Ned. And that may color because I want to end things, and I feel like we've done a pretty good amount of sessions. That may color the fact that I don't want to do a big involved, dungeon crawl or lengthy sequence of events to go hunt down Ned in Neverwinter. I'm actually looking forward to kind of montaging them, getting them where they need to go for a final confrontation. Although we can talk about what the plans are for that. So the first thing I want to do, area where the fire is burning, how densely populated is it? Where is a fire burning? I'm not sure, Sylvan. There's no fires near me. I know that. I don't think there is, at least. Maybe I haven't been paying attention to the news today. I don't know. I'm usually pretty on the ball with local news, but maybe it's a little further. I did populate this map. This map is from Gabriel Picard's, I think it's the Save versus Cave swap maps or something on the Roll20 marketplace, and I think we picked it out last Thursday, actually, looking for different map pieces. This one just felt very much like a boss lair with a big open cavern that's huge enough for a big creature to be in there. So I can plop the players down at one end and just filled it with undead, because his whole shtick is he's a necromancer, right? So he's got to have just undead servants everywhere. Now, none of this is supposed to be hostile to players. It's really just a show of force. He's a mob boss, and he's surrounded by his minions and followers. And I mean, frankly, an adult, even though the players just kicked a lot of ass, this is an adult Black Dragon. He shouldn't even need any minions to absolutely destroy the party, and hopefully they know that and don't go throwing around their weight too much. I am not above giving them a few taste of what he can do if they do insult him, which is something I kind of played around with when I used the Ancient White Dragon in Rime of the Frost Maiden. I wouldn't go into like a straight up combat encounter, but at least like, he's going to give like a claw swipe, or maybe even do his breath weapon, or at least flex his frightful presence, right? That's going to be a big part of it. So it's supposed to be just a social dialogue scene, but I wanted to make a map, even though you think, you put a map on there and you think they're going to fight, right? It's a battle map. But that's not my goal here. My goal was to just give them a visualization for I feel like even if we were having a dialogue scene, I would plop like the dragon mini, because how can you resist plopping the dragon mini on the board, right? But that's not going to be, the players are hopefully not going to be in, oh shit, this is fight mode. But that should clue them into the fact that this could be a fight if I wanted it to. And frankly, we've been using this a few times before. Chris, during Storm King's Thunder, I believe, whenever we met with Clouth, the red dragon, it was a similar situation where he had a big room set up, a whole bunch of like minions, and then the dragon on there, and it was just a pure dialogue scene. So we've done it. There's precedent, I guess, for using battle maps, even though we're not actually planning on battling on them. But I think it really just sells the effect of what's this going on versus just keeping them on, whatever overland map and then showing them like a handout of the dragon. I think this one would actually work pretty well for that. Artist Fire in Texas, history in the Panhandle area. Wow. I'd make a joke about how that's the most exciting thing to happen in the Panhandle area, but that would probably be in poor taste. I didn't know about that. Jeez. Okay, look at me, ignoramus. I'm behind on my news, I guess. My news feed's all been about the Supreme Court and the Colorado ballot and everything else. I didn't hear about the freaking fires. Mob boss dragon's gonna talk like the Godfather. Well, first of all, nobody can do that voice. That is insane. I mean, I could do maybe a poor job. It's Marlon Brando, isn't it? Just old ass Marlon Brando. I kind of picture him. You know who I picture the voice of this dragon is Scar from Lion King. Give me some fucking Jeremy Irons. Just very smooth, very I don't know, like puppet master, doesn't want to necessarily get his feet wet. I think the one description I got in here was that he prefers to let his minions do all his work or something. Yeah, luckily for Neverwinter, Garandar is too lazy to do much himself, preferring to hire out his mercenaries to gather treasure. So that clues me into the fact that I don't know, he is a mob boss, right? But I like the fact that he doesn't. The laziness, I feel like Scar is also kind of lazy while still having powerful schemes and stuff and sets himself up. But the weird thing is, this dragon's also the most powerful creature in the room, so it's weird that he doesn't want to get his feet wet, even though he could absolutely destroy everybody. So that's kind of the kind of personality I'm building with him, I guess. But I do like the idea of the mob boss because he's got connections, he's got minions, he's got information the party needs. But like a Kingpin mob boss, really, like literally Kingpin from Marvel, where like the dude could rip your head off if he wanted to, but that's not even necessarily what makes him so powerful. It's because he's just his mind and his ability to influence others and his power and control, like all that kind of stuff, which makes for fantastic villains. And that's where I'm going to go with this character. I do plan on having some kind of fun attraction with Savra, because Savra is a necromancer and Garandar is all about the necromancy, and they can like share secrets and maybe even be a little cutesy with it. I'm totally willing to go there. And that will help ingratiate the party with the dragon, because the dragon would normally be like, all right, he's going to be kind of a imperious asshole to them at first. He's like, look, people usually set up meetings through contacts. Like, this is all very, like, rude, basically, for you all to come in here, crash land on my island, and destroy my minions, and wreck a path of destruction through everything. And now you've earned yourself a audience, but also, possibly my wrath. So you better talk quickly and do not lie to me, or I will add you to my undead armies. And we'll see what the party goes from there. So like I said, I'm willing to beat him up a little bit, but I don't think it'll come to that. Now, I did sprinkle some treasure on this map, maybe to give the party some kind of fun ideas. There are no rogues in the party necessarily, and nobody's that got their eye on the treasure like we might have had with previous player character parties we've had. So I don't think we'll get any necessarily shenanigans here, but he's just flexing his wealth, and he'll probably ask the party, hey, what do you give me for the information that you seek, in all honesty. Now, it may be that he's, Savra's playing her cards really well, and they might be able to get the information they need without having to pay him very much, or maybe, I don't know, she'll show him her magic or something to where that'll like count as payment or something. I'm willing to be very flexible and just kind of let the RP go crazy and see how we do. But in terms of what he's got, I don't even know if I want to itemize all his different treasures, because if they try to fuck with him, I just don't see it going over very well. What is this passive perception? A passive perception of 21. He's probably going to notice if you try and nick a single gold coin and not be very happy with it. Oh, there we go. I could do a wing attack if they fuck with him. That's not too strong. I mean, any of his single attacks, a tail attack, frightful presence. If they really piss him off, then we got to do the acid breath. That's not going to go well for them. 12d8 acid damage. So yeah, this is supposed to be purely a social dialogue scene and not meant for a fight. I'm hoping it's going to be fun. The important information, though, that they need to know is, okay, we're here because we're following up on these, your troops assassinated. It'd be really interesting to see how the players actually play it, because he doesn't give a shit about the Aboleth. And if anything, he was like, yeah, let's take that thing out. Those things are nasty. And they're right there. Neverwinter. Okay, I'm on board for that. So the players have to play their cards right with that. And maybe they'll go full on truth and just be like, look, we're fighting some really bad shit going on. And, they won't be able to necessarily appeal to his sense of goodness because he's not a good character. But maybe some sort of pragmatic relationship could be attested to. And frankly, this party has done a fantastic job of allying with just about every single faction and character they've come across, regardless of, dubious intent and gray morals. So I do not doubt that I'm sure they will find some way to ally themselves with the Black Dragon. Hell, play their cards right. Maybe you can summon the Black Dragon during the final fight. I don't know. Actually, I take that back. Maybe you can hire his undead crew for a final fight or something if they give you that's something I could look at. If they really do well, I could give them some sort of token and be like, hey, use this to call me. Maybe he'll just exchange numbers with Sabra. I'll give him like a sending stone, which is just the friggin' pager of D&D. Be like, look, here's my digits, call me. And, if you find a good target for the Black Scourge and the crew, then we can send them there. But the rules are he needs a specific target and like a general location of where that target is. I think, because I'm trying to remember what the Revenant rules are. I guess the Revenant knows exactly where they are as long as they swear vengeance. And for whatever reason, Garandar, through these special magics, can just select a new vengeful target for the Revenant, and that allows the Revenant's entire crew to be able to track, somebody down. So I don't know how reasons he can do that. And that's the scene. The important thing is he'll need to tell them that the crew was hired by a man who was from the Kraken Society. I do plan on dropping that information. The man's name is Ned Shakeshaft. Is it Shakeshaft? I think that's what I wrote down. Yeah, Shakeshaft. Whom you all may recall, the party met, I believe, in their very first session and infamously stabbed Twirl in the back, leaving him for dead. Was working with the evil, at the time, smugglers, perhaps, on their time. And maybe Ned was part of the Kraken Society this whole time. Maybe he was a low-level underling or something. Or maybe he joined the Kraken Society after he had a falling out with Sanbalay's crew, because Sanbalay then allied with the party. But this is just a great opportunity to bring back Ned. It's a perfect role for him, and it's a great coda because I can name drop it here, and then the party is going to be like, gasp. And then and they won't know whether it's like, oh wait, he's part of the Kraken Society. I wonder if that's a new development or not, but it won't really matter in the long run. And then I'll need to explain that Garandar, and this is the part where I want to kind of montage things a little bit, just to make it more interesting, so that we don't have this big long. It feels weird like this late in this story arc to go and now do an investigation chunk of the mission. Like we got to the end of this whole Earth mode. We got to the end of it. Now you're going to tell me we got to go hunt down this guy in the city. Well, yes, but Garandar is going to tell you exactly where he is. Basically, he's going to be like, look, I've got my contacts in the city. That's how we set up meetings so people can come here, land on the fortress. I've already got the undead shut down so they can let those people in. under strict security requirements and everything, but then I can meet with people, and then that's how we set up our that's how I conduct business. So he's got people in Neverwinter, and he'll be like, this person, the Kraken Society, he's never personally dealt with, and he's got obviously a lot of questions about that, and so we wanted to keep tabs and do his due diligence, because again, he's a mob boss, so he wants to make sure he's not just sticking his thumb up his ass in his lair, but actually knowing what everything's going on in the city, especially in Neverwinter. And then the players, and then through the contact, he'll know the information that, okay, Ned, I'll treat like a true like noir thing. I was like, Ned hangs out in this one tavern near the harbor, and he's there most of the time, during the evenings, and that's the best place to find him. And then that's like the biggest clue I can give the players, like, hey, just go to this one location, and then that's basically all the information they need. I don't think Garandor is going to know too much, other than the fact that he was told about the Aboleth, and then, it's in our best interest to assassinate him, but also here's all this gold and treasure, probably delivered him some corpses, because that's, I assume, what a necromancer likes. What do you get to the necromancer who has everything? Well, I mean, there's always fresh bodies, really. But Garandor maybe did not know about the attack on Neverwinter, and maybe he's kind of pissed about that. Maybe Ned did not let him know that, like, oh, it happens to be on the night that we want this assassination to take place, we're also going to have this huge assault and attack on Neverwinter. And maybe Garandor's like, what the hell with this? Now, normally a war, might be a good thing for a dragon, especially a dragon necromancer. Opportunity for a lot of treasure and expanded territory, and certainly a lot of bodies to raise. But I think I'm going to play him as being kind of protective of Neverwinter in an interesting relationship. Like, obviously he's a mob boss, so he wants to be below board in terms of, not officially a leader or in charge, but perhaps he's starting to seed enough of his contacts, enough of his power and influence, where he's gaining more control over the city, which is why he was looking forward to getting rid of the Aboleth, because Aboleth was basically doing the same thing. But then to turn around and have these associates that he worked with attack Neverwinter, like, whole on with this huge navy, probably ruffled his feathers a little bit. So that might be he might be more inclined to turn over the information about his client and help the party, although they still have to kind of grease the wheels a bit through that discussion with him. So it should be a pretty fun RP scene, but like, from where I'm standing, if I was doing it from like a mechanical standpoint in terms of like starting relationship level, I would say Garandor is already predisposed to help the party because of that, and also because he's going to really dig Sabra being a necromancer. So all those things are going to point him in the direction of wanting to help the party. So they would have to be royal fuck-ups to really screw this up, which, again, to be able to complete this adventure arc, you need that information from him. I guess you could pry it from his cold dead body somehow, but I don't think they would survive. So then we look at montaging them back to Neverwinter. Obviously, they can just go back out. The undead aren't going to fuck with them anymore. They go back to the village. The lizard folk are all happy with them. They go back to the airship. The airship's been repaired. They recovered the air elemental. They can fly back down to Neverwinter and hit up the tavern. I guess I don't have anything stopping them from long resting, but hopefully just as a way of... I think my party's pretty good about just being like, all right, well, let's go ahead. It's kind of like the way we play Baldur's Gate, right? We just keep like pushing ourselves before we have to take a long rest. And I think that's pretty true when we play D&D as well, is that we don't try to abuse the long rest thing too much. So even though they could technically just like, all right, we're back in the city, we're going to if it were a video game, be like, all right, well, let's long rest first and, quick save, and then we'll go and check out this tavern and be fully fresh and ready to fight. Because this is not going to be a big, huge boss fight like they might think the dragon's going to be. We can talk about what we want this fight to be, because I do want to, I guess, I don't know, it's D&D. You have to end everything with a boss fight, right? Or some kind of equivalent fun big cinematic moment. I feel like taking out Ned and then discovering Ned is actually this mutated Deep Scion is going to be that moment. But then I was thinking, okay, do we do like a chase sequence where they like, you know, you do the classic thing where they see each other across the bar, and then he takes off through the back of the bar, and then we have this cool chase sequence. I don't know how to run a good chase sequence in D&D. I don't think the rules are very good in the Dungeon Master's Guide, or very lacking thereof. The best thing I can think of is when I did the Dino races in Tomb, which was a very scripted, like, okay, you know, round 1 this happens, round 2 this happens, round 3 this happens. But those were on vehicles, sort of, and this is just an on foot chase. I don't know how much kind of craziness you can do, and it really complicates things in terms of if the party does something to suddenly stop the chase, and then I have to worry about like what battle map do I use, because when the chase stops, it should transition into a combat scene. So I'm going back and forth on that, and I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe he ducks out the back and jumps through a sewer grate, and then we do a whole sewer thing where there's a whole Kraken like layer, society layer down there that you know, we can do basically a mini dungeon crawl. But all of these were ideas I had before. I was thinking, okay, we need to end this arc this Friday. So what can we do with the path of least resistance? So now I'm thinking maybe we just do a bar fight. Maybe they walk into the tavern, they see him, and the twist is that he doesn't run. Instead, he stands up, says some creepy words, and several other, you know, it's a late tavern, so there's not many people in there. Several other people, you know, join him. So it turns out he's got a couple minions there, and I'll have to figure out what stat blocks to use. And then it becomes just a tavern brawl, and that's kind of the big. So essentially, we just montage right to like the big boss fight finale. Maybe that's too quick, but it would be the easiest thing for me map wise. And technically, the players might have a chance to do some reconnaissance first and set themselves up. If they look through the windows and they try to see, you know, how many people there are, maybe we can do a surprise round and start things off. Like, I might be willing to be flexible on that, or at least try and come in from different angles. We could try to do that. So I guess I'd love to hear what you all think about how to handle the very finale of this event, because it really is up in the air. I always knew it was going to end with them having to, because the original one is kind of dissatisfying. Basically, they get the, let's see, is it under Pirate Skyhold or under the Fisher's Float? Yeah, doesn't know why they want Zixar dead when they paid well for the use of his mercenaries. Garner was contacted by someone named Arbeck, whom he believes is working for Sea King Tentrix. And then the Arbeck one sends them to Fisher's Float, which I didn't want to use because it's just another Earth moat, but it's an Earth moat that's like, yeah, it's a fishing village, which is to the southwest of Neverwinter. So it feels really weird to be like, all right, we gotta go to another Earth moat. How many of these things are there? Which has a trio of druids. They've turned to the Kraken Society, and they've got this guy named Arbeck, who is actually a Deep Scion. And then I think Arbeck's not even there. Commanding characters leave. When part of attack, Arbeck doesn't respond to threatened with death. And so yeah, he never even talks. And then they find a diary where he says he got the orders from Sea King Tentrix, and then they actually find the lair of Tentrix. They discover that it's in Nellanthur's, which I also have to determine how much. If they do, what I'd like to do is that they can take out Ned, question him, but they only get a limited information from him before, like, the Elder Brain thing, like, melts his mind. I would love that effect, and it just adds up the creepy factor. I do want them to learn some things. I don't want to be a complete, like, dead end. And maybe Nellanthur's is a fine clue, and that would tell them the general area. I could even say something like Tentrix layer is in Nellanthur's. Is it just called Nellanthur's, or is it like Nellanthur's Isle, something like that? But you'll never get through because, and then it like his brain gets fried or something. I think that could be cool. And that would be, I think, the I want to use the undead zombie dragon turtle that like circles around, and that could be their bodyguard thing. After teasing a dragon turtle in Tomb of Annihilation, and then also teasing a dragon turtle in Prince of the Apocalypse, we're going to get an undead dragon turtle in probably a proper actual fight, ship on dragon turtle fight, although he's going to be undead. At some point, they'll probably be around level 8 or 9, I think, for that. but I do want to use that. That's from Call from the Deep. I think that'd be pretty cool. And I think it's controlled from like a tower too. It could be interesting tactically. So if we're leaning towards the bar fight aspect, so I don't want to use the Fisher's Float ID at all. I just want to put him in Neverwinter. He's somewhere in Neverwinter. Maybe he's just frequents this one bar. And again, my options were, okay, they chase him through the streets. They go to the bar, they chase him through the streets, and they have to eventually fight him. Or they go to the bar and he ducks down the sewers. They have to chase him in the sewers and they fight him, or they just fight him in the sewers. Or they just all fight him in the tavern right then and there, which is the easiest thing for me to do. There are some rules, but they're not great. Yeah. Skill challenges. Yeah. I think, because what would be a skill challenge? Just everybody roll initiative and then just tell me what you're going to do on your turn. And you could be like, well, I'm going to dash, right? Like, all right, give me an athletics check or something. And then somebody else does something. And then the problem with this chase sequence is I just need this to be a fight and a showdown, right? The chase is just there to be kind of a fun precursor, but there really needs to not be a way for them to lose the chase sequence. So if I create a chase sequence, there's a chance for them to technically fail it completely. And I don't think that would go over very well story-wise. I did find a tavern map. I don't know why these start out so small. This is from Gabriel Picard's Slap Down Town Places of Comfort. So scroll up through the... How many? 445 items. Goodness. Does it have like a asphalt background I can use? Hopefully. Yeah, it does. Okay. So we're going to throw that down. But this is not big enough also. If you look at all these stools and stuff, this is not like person size. So I don't know why these are supposedly this big. Can we double this? So if we go 24 by 18, now it starts looking more like proper tavern size. In fact, that might be bloody perfect. Let's put that on the map there. Yeah, that might work right there, just doubling it. That's got an opportunity for a good bar fight, right? I'm trying to think it's got to be big enough. I think we could maneuver in here. That's true, yeah. I'm just nervous about a chase. I don't know. I can't, it just, I mean, there's like a chase complications table. We can look at chase rules again. And again, my goal is to finish this. But if we montage them properly, all we've got for this session lined up right now is the dragon social scene, right? And it should just be an RP social scene. So I don't know how, and I have no idea how long that's going to last. But it's not going to be a fight, so it shouldn't last too long. And then we plan on just montaging them, reversing their way back to the Earth moat, getting on the airship, going back to Neverwinter. Like, all that should be pretty instantaneous, frankly. There's chases on Avernus as a whole section. Yeah, so Dungeon Master's Guide does have a bit on chases. Roll initiative. Take one action and move. I gotta sneeze. Yeah, I'm still blowing my nose. Oh my goodness. This weather. We hit like, well, I told you guys, we hit like freaking 90 plus in February. It's now at least officially March, so. But allergies running rampant. Alright, sorry, excuse me. Each participant in the chase can take one action and move. When the chase begins, determine the starting distance between the quarry and the pursuers, which there would not be much of a starting distance unless I let him jump up and take off. Strong motivated to use the dash action every round. During the chase, a participant can freely use the dash action a number of times equal to 3 plus its Constitution modifier. So you're only making one action a round. And this tells you you're actually limited on how many dashes you can do. 3 plus your con. So minimum, everybody can dash for 3 rounds. And probably at least 4 rounds. Most people have positive constitution. Shout out to Bond from our Empire the Coolest campaign, who does not. Each additional dash action it takes during the chase requires a courtesy of DC 10 con check or gain a level of exhaustion. That's pretty interesting. Attack and cast spells, which it seems like a lot of spells could just instantly end the chase, right? You can, I mean, there's web, there's like grease, there's sleep, there's hold person, there's confusion, there's hypnotic pattern, like just anything, especially if your target's within like 60 feet, my goodness. Now, granted, if they make the save and you chose to cast a spell instead of dash, then you might quickly become out of range, I guess. But it seems like so many spells would just negate the chase completely. And I'm sure somebody like Max would be like, well, I'm just going to shoot him. Like, I can do fucking 20 damage. Like, yeah, that would suck for me because then they just got a free 20 damage off. So their goal, I mean, a chase could work because the goal is to get information from this character. But from my point of view, I also want to turn this into a pretty fun surprise kind of boss fight. So I think to that end, I think it would work best if we just turn it into a good old-fashioned tavern brawl. All right, so this was all the way at the end. They had some kind of asphalt background, snow, grass. Nope. Is that the only options? Snow or grass? Is that what I saw instead of... Oh yeah, it is snow. Shoot, I thought that was... I mean, it could be asphalt. Or not asphalt. What do they have? Just dirt? What did I use for the harbor map? Can I just copy that? Because that would look the best. Winter... Docks... Yeah, that tile set right there. Is it really that small? Let's copy that. Go back to tavern, because I'm only going to need it. I guess I better keep the outside a little bit. That one in front. Oops, I should have done that because I can't make this one bigger. All right, so can I make that bigger? Okay, good. That still looks good. Now it stops looking so good. Okay, what was the original resolution then? One more down, maybe. All right, let's move you out of the way. Let's copy and paste you a couple times. Now we'll go ahead and throw this map together because I think I'm liking the idea of the tavern brawl. A little bit more. I think it's going to work well for us. It'll be easiest for me as somebody who has had to do a lot of map work lately. Getting things to work. All right. Let's see. Main entrance is on the right side. I wonder if we can we flip this thing? Yeah. Let's do that. Let's flip it. And they can always come in the left side. So this is your main entrance, and then it actually has like an upper area, it looks like, and that's the bar. Okay. So you could even put Ned here on the stools. And then once they enter, ooh, that could be good. They're like 60 feet away. But then you could have minions standing up in here, which would be the cool surprise. So, originally, Arbeck, who I'm replacing with Ned, is a Deep Scion. I loved that idea, right? Deep Scion is perfect, especially if he went full-on Kraken Society. It's a kind of creature that can transform between its human form or its hybrid form, which is that creepy looking monster thing here. So that's perfect because that's a way for him to transform, mutate, and be this dangerous creature. We kind of teased that before. That was kind of Deep Scions were associated. Although I used the Deep Scion stat block, but really I was treating it almost like a Mind Flayer was being created when I used Burn. Whereas this will be a straight up, I think just a straight up Deep Scion stat block. But as Deep Scions only CR level 3, so for a boss fight, or at least the pseudo boss fight, like it's the big climax of this arc that we're doing, is taking out Ned and getting information from him. Not the strongest stat block for a level 6 party to deal with. I have teased with maybe using short-term madness. Whenever they first even see the transformation that could trigger short-term madness. That actually worked out pretty well last time. I'll have to look up exactly how I did those rules with when I did with Burn, but I think it's like when he transformed, it forced everybody to make a madness save instead of his Screech. But I could also use his Screeching ability, which is a crazy AoE stun, although it's only stun to the end of the next turn, but still, it's pretty gnarly. At the very least, I could probably give him more hit points. That's usually a good thing to do with a boss. Oh, one thing I gotta do is actually... shoot. I gotta remake his Ned token. Well, Kraken Priest, I think, is actually what Tentrix is, fun fact. Or Tentrix might be like a modified Kraken Priest. I know he's got the thunder voice of the Kraken thing. Yeah, where's Tentrix? Yeah, he's got Voice of the Kraken. He's got spellcasting. I think his base stat block is the Kraken Priest, which would be way too powerful for Ned. Although I like where your head's at for sure. Oh boy, actually, now that I look at it, Tentrix is a lot stronger than a Kraken Priest. CR 10. Oh wait, there is one from Volos. Let's see, is that the same one? Nope, yeah, CR5. Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Cards Black Tentacles, Call Lightning, Voice the Kraken. That is a slightly better stat block, but I like to do the transformation. I think that'd be the coolest thing to do. But this would be pretty thematic. What other creatures or stat blocks can I use to be associated with the Kraken Society? Because I tried looking up information, and there's almost nothing about the Kraken Society out there. Deep Scion was my go-to. Otherwise, it's just like the generic people stat blocks, like Cultist, Cult Fanatic, Spy, all those kind of things. Which Ned's original stat block was a Spy, which I think is like a CR1 maybe. I mean, his main special thing would be to do Everett's Black Tentacles, which would be pretty cool. But if we don't want to do that, and we keep the Deep Scion, I mean, yeah, we could. Yes, it's very true. Obviously, I can make it with a keep the transformation. I could create my own stat block that's some sort of combination Kraken Priest, Deep Scion if I wanted to. What's the main? It's actually pretty close on hit points. And the Deep Scion has slightly better AC. They both have pretty low AC. Deep Scion has better saves. Yeah, the main thing is the Kraken Priest is a spellcaster and has the voice of the Kraken, which is can frighten people, whereas which is like once per combat, whereas this guy has the temporary stun once per combat. So pretty close, but the Kraken Priest can cast spells. So all I would have to do is give the Deep Scion a few spells, and I essentially have created my own with, yeah, I'll make my own, my own snap block with Blackjack and Hookers. You know what? Screw the Blackjack. Shout out to Bender. Deep Scion Henchmen. Boy, we're going hard on them, huh? They did kind of kick my ass a little bit. Didn't they? They're sitting pretty. Although, let's see how they're doing. I think they mentioned they didn't have any more hit dice. Yeah, Gottwald's down to 20 hit points with 0 hit dice, so he's straight up at 20 hit points. This poor party's gonna want to like long rests between. They're gonna be like, I don't know. Maybe I'll say the information. Like I've been keeping tabs that he frequents this in, but I wouldn't expect him to be there long. You'd better get a move on or so, you know, some kind of hint the party. Because I can let them short rest after the undead fight, but Gottwald won't be able to recharge at all. Matt could recharge a bit. He's got 3. How's Sabra doing on spell slots? Actually, really good on spell slots. She still has 2 third levels, 1 second level, and 2 first levels. She is doing just fucking fine. Twirl obviously has his back on a short rest. And still plenty of hit points. And all of his hit dies. Wow, that's... Gottwald is the true tank. He has been taking so much damage. So yeah, honestly, the party's not doing that bad, except for Gottwald having, like, no hit points right now. I thought about a Chul also. I know I want to use Chuls at some point, but... I guess I could have somebody transform into a Chul. Chuls can't really transform. They're really cool minion type characters for a higher level. They're already CR4, so you could use one as... If you used a Chul here, it'd have to be a boss fight for sure, but very cool underwater looking creature. It has paralyzed, or no, yeah, it is paralyzing. Poisoning and paralyzing tentacles. It's pretty badass. So that's an option. We've got that. We've got the Deep Scion. In terms of who's, I mean, yeah, we could use a bunch of Deep Scions around. I don't know. I think it could get pretty crazy pretty quick. I guess if you use Deep Scions as minions and specifically didn't use their Psychic Screech and just had them doing their basic attacks, then they just become really, really meaty minions. I mean, 67, that's a lot of hit points for a minion. Of course, I say that, and the player's like, Eric, come on. They just destroyed your Minotaur skeleton who had 70 hit points. They did, and it was impressive. But that's also because it had freaking bludgeoning vulnerability, and Gottwald did horrifying things with his bludgeoning weapon. I think he did 16 damage, which times 2 was 32 damage in a single turn. That's nuts. The Chul pool. That's fantastic. Hey, Jason. So right now we're debating on the finale for this arc right now that they're on. They're going to get the information from Garandar to go back to Neverwinter and find out that Ned was the one who hired the undead. Ned the undead. Want to make windows here or not? I don't know. Too many windows in a bar, right? That kind of bar. And they'll go back to Neverwinter. They'll break down the doors of this tavern this seedy tavern, because of course it's got to be seedy, is where Ned hangs out at, and I think that's where I want to stage kind of a final encounter. Would this be a full wall? I guess it. Like a window wall, maybe? Like you could still see through it. This is not like a full story up, so I don't think this would be. I guess I could use the window thing. It's kind of a weird use of it, but I was going to block this sight line, but I don't think that's how it works. I've been to restaurants. You can kind of see over. It's just an elevated position right there. I'm just drawing the lines right now. I don't think I've even turned on dynamic lighting on this map yet. There. And then I'm just ignoring all the windows. I don't think we need to do windows around here too much. Did I already do one there? I did not. There, and draw you. There, and then the rest can just be doors. Doors. Door, 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 and door. The seediest bar. The only tavern they gave me in Call from the Deep was called Beached Leviathan. 3-story tavern, the recovered wreck of a pirate ship called Leviathan. Tavern is much loved by the locals. Owned by Harrigan and his wife. Commoners, a fat ex-pirate who claims fierce independence, but is widely known to be an informant for Neverember. Which probably wouldn't make much sense for here, so I'm just going to treat this like a... Oh, there's a half-orc thug named Fang, the towering half-orc bouncer. But I think this whole place would either be like a known hangout for, you know, scum and villainy, and thus people would clear out, while all the others would be like, turns out like the Kraken Society, or like, you know, he's got some buddies in here that would all rise from the table and attack. Which I could also just use the straight up Cult Fanatic. Cult Fanatic could actually be molded and rethemed, I think, in some pretty interesting ways. Which is why I've got it open. So I think Cultist's probably not worth it. I mean, you could use, if you really want to use straight up minions that are like one-hit kill, Cultist is fine, but might be a little too weak. But Cult Fanatic, now you've got a spellcaster in here who actually has some pretty dangerous spells, namely Hold Person and Spiritual Weapon, which you could flavor that as Hold Person being like, you know, feel the tentacles of the Kraken, and you could have, you know, tentacles try to pool around and grab somebody. And Spiritual Weapon could literally be reflavored exactly like Toral's summon tentacle thing, right? They could just summon a tentacle that happens to be whatever the, I don't know, spiritual way. I just treat I keep thinking of Baldur's Gate doesn't work like that. Baldur's Gate is really sexy. Force damage equal to 1d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier, which is, God, they're really shitty though. DC 11. It's so shitty. +3 with spell test, so it's only a +1. So 1d8 +1 for a tentacle, but not concentration, which is pretty important. It just stays on the board if you summon a few of those. So Cult Fanatic might be a little too easy, but if you use them, I mean, they're CR2. If you use those as minions, you know, seeded a couple of those. Hell, inflict wounds. That's not too bad, right? I really think you could just reflavor this Cult Fanatic stat block into Kraken Society people. Yeah, 3d10 necrotic damage. And just have them say creepy stuff about the ocean. Or they could do thunder and lightning. Isn't that what the Kraken Priest is all about? Is that really the only kind of stat block we have? We have a Kraken. We have a Kraken Priest. That's pretty much it. The Juvenile Kraken from Ghost of Saltmarsh. Yeah, it's disappointing. We looked at doing a Kraken Priest for Ned, but I think that's a little too much of an upgrade for him. But maybe he's got some ability to be able to cast Everard's Black Tentacles or something, and then he's pretty close. Exactly. It is a cult. In fact, I guess I should look at what, like, purple rocks, like, later in the campaign, what do they use? Which would be under chapter 4. Yeah, so what do they use here? Purple Rocks is controlled by a circle of 5 Deep Lords, all Kraken priests. And then the head Kraken priest is Deep Lord Ingramar, and he's the one holding Hoch Maraz's Staff of the Magi, which I did tell the players that's out there somewhere. I just didn't tell them it's held by a major boss right before the big dungeon. So in terms of what else is there? Tribal warriors. Boost tattoos of stylized tentacles. That's kind of disappointingly low stat block, isn't it? Are they like guards? Slithering tracker. Ugh, you don't have a image for that. What's a slithering tracker? I don't remember this thing. Slithering. Follows guide to monsters. I guess I should use Mordenkainen's. Ooh, that's nasty looking. What the fuck is this? Sling tries to hack such as priests worship gods of vengeance. Ritual sucks all the moisture from the subject's body, killing it, yet the subject's mind lives on the puddle that issues forth the remains, and so to his insatiable need for retribution. It's like a sentient puddle? Rises up and enshrouds a creature, attempting to drown the creature while also draining it of blood. Oh, that's pretty creepy. That might be a little too exotic for right here, but that's... It might be something we could use in the styes. Huh. That's fascinating. Like drowns people? Yeah. So DC 13 dex ever be grappled. Until the grapple ends, the target is restrained and unable to breathe unless it can breathe water, which a lot of the party can. The grappled target takes 3d10 necrotic damage at the start of each of its turns. And while grappling, the tracker takes only half damage and the target takes the other half. It's got the cool cloaker thing. Wow. That's creepy. It just engulfs you. It's like, yeah, it's a sentient puddle thing. An ooze. Typically chaotic evil. Yeah. Got damage resistance, although vulnerable to cold and fire. Jeez. Why would a puddle be vulnerable to fire? That's crazy. Where is this used at? Now I'm intrigued. I got distracted. Examine the corpse and purple rocks. The tracker from the temple waiting for the right time to strike. Okay, I guess it's used later on in the campaign. First arrived, they are escorted by 10 tribal warriors, guarded by berserkers. Berserkers had to activate a mind flare, created by some rumors, watch the process. Okay, so they use the berserker stat block and the tribal warrior stat block. There's more deep scions. Group consists of 3 mind flayer thrall berserkers, 2 deep scions led by the mind flayer. Huh. Uh-oh. Got... Everything okay? OBS just said it disconnected, but reconnected successful, so hopefully we're still okay. Maybe I froze for a second. That was never good. I don't know how... I mean, Berserker is one of the most simple stat blocks ever. That's too strong for a minion, though. 67 hit... I mean, that's the same as a Deep Scion, practically. It doesn't have multi-attack. Jeez. That's an annoying minion. It's like really high hit points, and like if it misses, it's not doing anything. It only has 1 attack. I'm not too impressed with the Berserker stat block. Tribal Warrior is just like a bandit, I think. Pretty close. It's a bandit with a spear and pack tactics. Yeah, so I'm liking the Cult Fanatic. I think is a nice, like, not gonna die from one hit, but maybe he can do a couple things. But maybe we give Ned the Deep Scion, like... I think just the transformation doing short-term madness could be interesting. Right, yeah, much higher level. I'm really still liking the Deep Scion. I just like the look of it. I think it'd be really creepy for Ned once they get to him. He like transforms and does that and freaks him out. I think that could be effective. But we could also give, obviously, we'll give him a lot more hit points. Maybe even legendary actions. That could be interesting. Something to make the Deep Scion more of a boss fight because it is only a CR3. Maybe just give him Everard's Black Tentacles he can cast. That could be probably a good one. His concentration, though. Tentacles, it's yeah, not as rough as Hunger of Hadar. That one's nuts. Take 3/6 bludgeoning damage and be restrained. Although that does restrain you in the tentacles. That can be fun. Legendary actions. Oh, man. Well played. Well played indeed. Yeah, I think it'd be a pretty flavorful spell from the cast. And if he does that, and you have all these cult fanatics be able to do spiritual weapon, inflict wounds, and hold person, that's a lot of spells going off against the party. And at that point, I don't even have enough melee people, because unfortunately the cult fanatic is kind of useless in melee. It really wouldn't even want to cast melee weapons. Well, the spiritual weapons become your melee in a weird way. Although the spiritual weapons cannot be attacked, unlike Baldur's Gate, and they're not concentration. So do they God, have I ever used a spiritual weapon as an enemy? Presumably they would go away if the person who's cast it died, but it doesn't actually say that anywhere. But I love the idea of just reflavoring spiritual weapon like the tentacle, which is exactly what Toral's thing is anyway. And that way you can use the cult fanatics. Do I even have cult fanatics in here? Or do I have to grab them? Cult C. I do, but it's not a picture. Oh yeah, I need to get Ned's proper picture and then be able to transform into a Deep Scion. I wonder if that's worth doing a rollable token so I can have his familiar thing on there, or am I going to just have him transform as soon as the fight starts? Because unfortunately, I think I turned it into maybe a bonus action instead of a full action. All right, cult is actually a lot of things. Oh shit, but it's not cultist, it's cult fanatic. Cult fan. Just a fan of cults, man. Just a fan of cults. The Indianapolis Colts. just a cult fan. There you go. And it looks like such a, innocuous stat block. You're just like, all right, this is kind of whatever cultist minion, but then they start throwing down those spells, and you're like, oh, damn. I don't know how many we want to use, how we want this fight to go down, but I think we could at least do just four of those plus a souped up Deep Scion. Could be fine. Do you want a half Ned, half Scion token made? Demnix, if you can do that, that'd be lovely. I don't even remember what token I used for Ned. Do I need to show you, or can you? I guess it's all on the tape somewhere. Because I have to do the rollable token thing in Roll20, though. But I guess if I have well, yeah, because I'll do it myself, I guess, because the way you do it is you just have to have the token art and be able to drag them into a table. I just have to remember what I used for Ned. Let's go back in time. Gotta go back in time. Oh, is it? It's the same token I used for the other guy too. That's funny. I think I used this token when the party rescued a rando. Yeah, so this token art I think is from Dragonlance. I think it's from the Dragonlance thing. But yeah, I can probably put that together and turn it into a rollable token. Yep, we all missed the news. All right, well, I have gone over our time, but we've got, stuff to talk about for crafting. Trying to wrap this thing up. We'll talk about it more on Thursday, but I think that is going to do it for this session of Crafting the Deep. If you enjoy the content, please check out patreon.com/Rogue Watson. Shouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brandon, Zenicider, Eclectic, Roleplay Roll, Christopher Corey, Big Nut, John F, John L, Eric, Tyler, Nathan, Kept Crystal, Counselor, Andrew, Daryl, the Red One, Captain Woody 79, Stephanie, Andy, Patrick, Jason, Ismail, Amit, Lumpy Spuds, Koi, and Sharny, and Gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Dead Lizard, Lounge, Sam, Drome, Nathan, Fast Like a Tortoise, Scott, Rufus, Carolyn, Jerry, Thomas, Glenn, and Marcus. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you for more crafting on Thursday.